Hello there, good morning, it's 11:30. Welcome to news from here on GHOne television. We're live from our studios at the Platinum Place, Northridge. Also live on X, on Facebook, and also on YouTube at GHOne TV. Now here's what to expect in the next hour. Family of a 39-year-old woman believed to be kidnapped last week seek public assistance as kidnappers demand 500,000 cedi ransom.
Please help me. I'm kidnapped. My trauma kidnapped me Islam. Mama was gone from me.
Also, former presidential staffer Charles Bissue welcomes decision by the Office of the Special Prosecutor to finally proceed with case after over 5 years of inaction, but he maintains the allegations are baseless. In business, President Mahama appoints Matilda Santesiedu as a Bank of Ghana second deputy governor. And on the foreign front, McCartney wins Canada's election, says Canada will not yield to Trump threats. Well, we've got the details of these and more shortly in the bulletin. Kindly stay with us. Well, grateful for your company this morning. I am Joshua Kodjo Mensah. Details now on the family of a 39-year-old woman from Akyem, Asiakwa, and the Abuakwa South Municipality of the Eastern Region is calling for urgent assistance following her alleged kidnapping by some individuals believed to be of Nigerian descent. Akyem, a hairdresser and event decorator, was reportedly last seen a week ago when she left home to purchase supplies for her business but never returned. The following day, her sister received alarming videos from Mensah's phone in which she appeared distressed and pleaded for help, suggesting she had been kidnapped and was being held in Nigeria. The situation worsened on Thursday when the family received additional disturbing footage. In the videos, Mensah appeared naked and visibly injured with blood stains on her body. Now, her captors reportedly demanded a ransom of 500,000 cedis for her release. Now, the family has since filed a formal complaint with the Ghana Police Service, the National Intelligence Bureau, NIB, and the National Security Secretariat. Investigations into the incident are currently underway. Meanwhile, the Ghana Police Service, in the post which is currently on your screens, confirmed that they are actively investigating the matter. GHOne News has also learned that the family has contacted the Member of Parliament for Abuakwa South, Kingsley Agyemang, seeking his intervention. Meanwhile, efforts are being made to raise the ransom as the kidnappers are believed to be hiding in Ghana. Now, the family is urging the public and authorities to assist in securing Mensah's safe return. Well, let's speak to security analyst Adib Sani on this rather worrying development. Adib, thank you so much for joining us. So yes, this is where we are. Videos been sent to the family requesting ransom, among others. What's your reading into all that has happened with this matter?
Well, it is quite concerning, but you see, let me take this opportunity to advise Ghanaians. God forbid, if your relative is kidnapped and you are contacted, the security services are on it, the criminals might let their guards down. There are so many lessons we can learn from the Akradi incident. There was an attempt by the family to raise the money, and I think a number of times Momo was sent to the kidnappers. You don't do that. There are specialists within the security services whose job it is to negotiate how much would make it this, would make it that. At the same time, a lot is happening I wouldn't be able to say on phone because I might be giving out too much information that can help the kidnappers. And I think that is key. then we need to, at a very personal level, a big deal of discretion. Kidnapping is not so pervasive in Ghana. It is very common in Nigeria. That is why you see celebrities moving with 10 policemen all holding rifles, politicians moving with 15 policemen because it is a very common phenomenon. And in Nigeria, you can walk up to the police and be assigned police officers with rifles because of the insecurity situation in that country. But in Ghana, we are not so accustomed to that. However, things changed when the Canadian girls were kidnapped. And later, another diplomat was also kidnapped. So surely it is real. And we need to exercise a great deal of discretion. We need to educate our children, because for a lot of Ghanaians, their children walk to and from school. You wouldn't have the money to have a car that would take your children to school. And while they are on their way to school, they are met with a lot of danger. So take your children. When an uncle calls you into his room, and they used to mostly balloons, pets, toffee, to entice the children. Let us teach them all of this. So we'll also be doing our bit to complement what the security services or agents are also doing.
Interesting. So at this point where this has gained some prominence in the public domain, videos circulated among others, you say that ordinarily that should have not been the case. But now that it is the case, what's the way forward like?
Well, time is of the essence. The security services would have to be up and doing. I wouldn't be able to tell what exactly they need to do. Immediately, negotiators should be up and working already. Speak with the kidnappers, understand what their demands are, and see what we can do to meet each other halfway as we explore the other things. But the family would have to keep calm. They shouldn't go beyond. Behind the security agents and engage the kidnappers. That would be a very, very dangerous thing to do. They should cooperate with the relevant authorities, and God willing, their relatives will be back home soon.
Right. Adib, thank you so much for speaking with us. Adib San is a security analyst. Now, a moment meant to showcase unity turned sour in Brekum, as the NPP's thank you tour was briefly disrupted by a heated exchange between former flag bearer aspirant Kennedy Japon and Bono regional chairman of the party, Abronya DC. Now, Abronya criticized what he called internal indiscipline, rejecting Japon's call to reintegrate suspended party members. But the former Central MP fired back, insisting that party needs inclusion, not intimidation.
And the dear Babi Yadri. Raging ha, mu some two me nine quite single constituency. I quite catch you be said. Yan to my candidate, we move here. More men motina damukra, the moon some flow be said to about my particular candidate. But the bill to me call ye campaign we no. Omurie ya no ma konkran. Abronya no na agibo mi campaign ayere. Ba no kura ne say omo ba mo ho campaign, omo say abronya na soma mo. Omo say abronya na soma say ye meye campaign ko meboa. Eyesa mo di ho adanse ye, say ma miama no amfro bia. Sa ankrofo no so omo ye sa di me din ba ayere. E kina omo beba mo ho. But this time no, omaye ma me buafu. Na mom mo obi nkodi obi atem. Ukodi do obi atem wie. Na so wie a, wo se yankoye a unity. I mean say unity no. Eyi mo ana mo kreti.
Anya ekuru ya. Because some of them cannot even speak the way they speak. Because bam fie kura wo fari. Ebi mo ya podcast ma wo mo. On ba ro be too long. You see ya panokura mo yanka. I will not respect you, but may respond to anybody unless I can show down. Anybody akuma wasuru ekasa yete memo party no yankomo ye ma minisa wosika minsika mo here for promotion to be kasa kukugudo so ye sika for please who born dog. Number to talk anyhow. Who bond up? number to your talk anyhow. Kuhuru.
Well, Director of Communications for the New Patriotic Party, Richard Akyem, has dismissed claims that former Vice President and 2024 flag bearer of the NPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, is shifting blame for the NPP's 2024 election defeat. Speaking on GHOne News, Richard Akyem said comments by former government spokesperson on governance and security under the Akufo-Addo administration, Dr. Paulgrave Boakye Dankwa, and NPP communications team member Kwesi Kwarteng, suggesting that Dr. Bawumia was absolving himself of responsibility were politically motivated.
I don't think that Dr. Bawumia said anything in that presentation where I was in the room in blame to other exonerate himself, not at all. Okay. So if he gets and Kwesi Kwarteng, who supporters of Honorable candidate GHOne, if you hear them say that, then you see them to be advancing their politics, which is fine. And I have a responsibility to put a record straight to say that what he said, he didn't mean that. But if you insert your politics, then this will be the deduction which they are making.
Well, let's speak to a political analyst, Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere. He's joined us now via Zoom for a conversation on this particular one. Doc, thank you so much for joining us. So it appears that the NPP's thank you tour is rather taking a different dimension and not able to meet the expectation that we all would have hoped that it would have achieved. What's your reading into that?
Well, thank you. Let me say good afternoon to your viewers and to your good self. It is just unfortunate that the NPP has gotten to where they've gotten to. They've brought it upon themselves. I said yesterday on another sister platform that, look, the christening that they've put out there as a thank you tour in itself is born out of cynicism, and that they should have made it, a unity talk or unity tour. Because it appears that seemed to be driving the communication of Mr. Kennedy GHOne. Unity is more important, but in a period where everybody is positioning him or herself for a future position, obviously these things are bound to happen. And it's just going to be a contest of ideas, and some kind of skirmishes will take place. And obviously, I've also said that, look, this is even going to get a little more murkier, it's going to get more messier, and it is going to get worse until it gets better. And that could only happen when probably they have done a thorough overhauling of the positions that will be available. And then probably they bring in new faces and to champion a different cause altogether. I think that probably will be the way forward. But as it stands now,
right,
it is a very murky situation for the party. The thank you tour is rather turning into a kind of division.
And what indication does this really give?
Well, certainly it means that the center is not holding. In actual fact, the authority of the national executives, seem to be in question, and because they themselves are also positioning themselves for future positions, so they wouldn't want to rock the boat,
right,
and wouldn't want to be seen to be aligning. But obviously, you could see that the leading candidate, which is Dr. Bawumia, will want to take the opportunity to say A, B, C, and D, and that in itself could create some kind of rivalry with other, future competitors, with the likes of Kennedy GHOne, Boakye Dankwa, and so on and so forth. And so, it is not going to be that simple, but they should allow, things to go as it should,
right,
and then later the dust will settle. That's how I see it.
And when you say they should allow things to cool, for the dust to settle, what should the party leadership that you have talked about, what should they be doing now, urgently?
Well, some have called for a discontinuation of the thank you tour. Whichever way you look at it, if you discontinue to have ramifications, if you do, it will also have ramifications. Probably the General Secretary, for example, they have lost the wherewithal to ask people to tone down, to ask people to be summoning people. They've lost that wherewithal. And that's the more reason why it is going to be a bit difficult for them. Whichever way you look at it, if you speak this way, somebody will say you are Akufo-Addo fashion, you are Bawumia fashion, you are Kennedy Japan's fashion. Here is the case: the Director of Communications is denying the fact that, look, Dr. Bawumia is not disassociating himself from the mess or the causes of the defeat of the party. But here is the case: the former, spokesperson for governance and security for the previous government and the leadership of President Akufo-Addo, Dr. Palgrave, is suggesting otherwise, that Dr. Bawumia is trying to, deflect the causes of the defeat onto somewhere else. And that in itself has brought it's taken some flack from Dr. Palgrave.
Right.
Then Sapon too. Is it Kwesi Sapon?
Kwesi Kwarteng.
Kwesi Kwarteng. He's also made a statement to that effect. But these people in the previous, internal elections, leading up to the national elections, they were supporting Dr. Bawumia. So what has really changed? So that should tell you that, look, it is early days yet, and if they are not careful, there will be an implosion. And that in itself could also culminate in another defeat. Because if the center is not holding, it is going to be very difficult bringing everybody in. But I think that what the style of Kennedy Japan is much more mature to me, calling on the people who have been excommunicated, sacked, dismissed, suspended indefinitely, to be allowed to come back into the fold.
Right.
That for me is a mature way of looking at future unity.
Okay. Doc, thank you so much. We appreciate your thoughts with us on this particular matter. But now, the Generational Rights Protection Society is urging government to declare a state of emergency on illegal mining, commonly known as galamsey. The mining method has created a devastating impact on Ghana's environment, water bodies, putting the future of citizens in danger. Now, this call came at the first day of a 3-day protest from April 28th to the 30th of April 2025.
March from Kwame Nkrumah's circle scheduled to end at the Jubilee House. Convener of Generational Rights Protection Society, Okatachi Efrifa Mensah, stressed the urgent need for government's intervention and demanded the revocation of Legislative Instrument 2462, which seemingly permitted mining in forest reserves, despite a national land policy prohibiting such activities.
The seal Apostle and the commander John Dramani Mahama Flagstaff House. Yes, some a nine pen. The only a cocoa drew a ground so
Traditional authorities also lent their voices to the protest. The chief of Akyem in Yenasin, Osaberima Ata Apiakran Ej, emphasized the need for stronger measures to stop all forms of illegal mining in order to protect the country's national resources and heritage.
Environmental
Several protesters expressed their frustration over the continued destruction of rivers, forests, and farmlands, citing concerns for public health and generational.
Right, so that's the report of how it all panned out yesterday. Let's speak to Aula Sawa. She's an environmentalist and she leads Eco-Conscious Citizens. Aula, thank you so much for joining us. So, yes, last year we saw a protest against illegal mining, and just 4 months into this administration, we are seeing another one. Does it give an indication of how urgent the call is for us to address this canker?
Good afternoon to you and your viewers. The reality is that we've said it time and time again. We face an existential threat. Right. There's ecocide going on. Our waters are being poisoned. Our forests are being depleted. Farmlands poisoned. Rising kidney disease, cancers, maternal deaths. deformed babies. The situation is dire. And we shouldn't think we are safe in Accra. Where is our food coming from? And even when it comes to the water we are drinking, Ghana water does not remove the heavy metals from the water. So even if the water is clear, it doesn't mean that it's safe to drink. So yes, it's an urgent situation, an existential threat. The environmental terrorists have declared war, because even in wartime, when you poison the water bodies, it's a war crime.
Right.
So whatever can be done to put the matter on the agenda can only help to bring the matter to an end, for the right decisions to be taken.
Do these protests add up to putting the matter on the agenda, especially when we've seen government say that it is committed and it is taking urgent steps to deal with the canker?
Well, I mean, eco-conscious citizens have been at the forefront of getting LI 246 revoked. It is disappointing that when the current administration, whilst in opposition, they had said they would have it revoked, and then they tried to have it amended. There's been a campaign going on, revoke, not amend, drop LI 2462. And it's a positive sign that we've been told that when Parliament comes back, the LI is going to be revoked. So this is what the government has said. It's a step in the right direction. That's why we haven't joined the demonstration, because we need to find out whether what they said is actually going to happen.
Right.
And then we have other demands. We have other demands, such as declaring a state of emergency, which does not mean shoot to kill. It doesn't mean lawlessness. It means that you have a situation where you have your armed forces, your navy, going to the forest reserves and the water bodies and clearing it of environmental terrorists and removing the equipment also. It's not a situation where we're in the Wild West and just go shooting everybody inside. That's not what it's about.
Aula, thank you so much for your time. Aula Sawa, the leading eco-conscious citizens. But let me now take you to the University of Ghana Medical Center, where President John Dramani Mahama is launching the Mahama Cares healthcare policy that seeks to help those with chronic diseases and also debilitating challenges health-wise.
Fund program is coming. Those is coming to help are your clients who save their money in your banks. They are your clients who do business with you. And indeed, they are not only your clients, they are even your own staff. Some of your staff have died, from breast cancers and diabetes and all that. And so, as part of your CSR, if you give anything, you are giving it not just to help people, but to help your own clients and your own, your customers and your own staff. And so, I'd like to encourage all corporate Ghana, that is private sector and state sector, to annually devote a portion of their community social responsibility to Ghana Medical Trust Fund, because it's going to do a lot of good to our country. I want to assure Prophet Adanu that while he was speaking, the many suggestions he was throwing out, I turned quietly to the Minister of Health and asked, "Are you taking notes?" And he quickly took his paper and started writing. So, Prof, you can be sure that note has been taken of the suggestion you made, and we want to thank you for that. I want to thank Professor Akyem, who's been my long-standing friend and mentor, for the contribution he made. Prof. Akyem is a retired specialist, emeritus professor, and very well known in medical circles. And so when he gave the envelope, for a retired pensioned, medical professional, I was curious to see how much he had given. And so after I took the check, I gave it to the health minister. But after a while, I collected the envelope back, and I peeked at it. And he won't want me to mention it, but I want to say that I was surprised at how much he's giving. Society, a doctor on pension has given $1,000 to Ghana Medical Trust. And so that should encourage all of us and encourage, the corporate institutions to do even much better. But on that note, as the initiator of this laudable program, would also have to give something. And so I've pledged half a year, 6 months of my salary to Mahama Cares. I'm not yet being paid. They say Accountant General is still doing something. But whenever Accountant General finishes, 6 months of whatever I'm entitled to will go into Mahama Cares. So thank you very much. Now let me inflict my speech on you. Mercifully it's short, so you won't have to live through too much pain. Yeah. So I am deeply honored to join you this morning for the official launch of the Ghana Medical Trust Fund, Mahama Cares, as it's called, a landmark initiative introduced by my government to decisively confront the growing burden of chronic non-communicable diseases, for short NCDs. The fight against NCDs is intrinsically linked to our broader national development agenda, particularly the Sustainable Development Goals, and most notably SDG 3, which enjoins us to ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. Specifically under SDG 3, Target 3.4, commits the global community to reduce premature mortality from NCDs by 1/3 by 2030 through prevention, treatment, and promotion of mental health and well-being. Across the globe, non-communicable diseases, including cardiovascular diseases, cancers, chronic respiratory conditions, diabetes, and mental health disorders, remain the leading cause of mortality, accounting for over 43 million deaths annually worldwide. Worryingly, the burden is disproportionately borne by low and middle income countries such as ours, posing not only a public health crisis, but also a profound social and economic threat. Non-communicable diseases exacerbate poverty, they widen social inequality, and undermine economic development. Vulnerable populations, that is those with lower education, limited access to healthcare, and lower income levels, are currently most at risk. Addressing the NCD menace is therefore not merely a health imperative, it is essential for advancing economic growth, promoting social justice, and securing environmental sustainability. In Ghana, the picture is equally alarming. Available data indicates that NCDs amount for over 40% of all age category mortalities, and they consistently rank among the top 10 causes of death nationwide. Even more disturbing is the steep rise in hospitalized cancer cases, which jumped from 3,487 patients in 2012 to 16,105 in 2016. Alarmingly, adults aged from 18 to 45, the prime of our nation's workforce, account for more than half of these cases, 16,000 cases. This troubling trend is driven by a convergence of factors. One, shifting lifestyles characterized by things like tobacco use, alcohol abuse, unhealthy diets, and sedentary behavior, and also increased environmental factors. The cost of treatment, ladies and gentlemen, is not just disturbing, it can be devastating for low-income families. Estimates from our teaching hospitals reveal that the average annual cost of non-communicable disease treatment per patient averagely stands at approximately 53,000 Ghana cedis annually, and that's equivalent to about $3,300 US. Managing chronic conditions imposes crushing financial burdens on families, often pushing them below the poverty line and deepening their vulnerability. It is estimated that individuals diagnosed with chronic diseases face a 75% likelihood of falling into poverty within 5 years, regardless of their original economic standing. And so it even ruins rich people. I mean, you spend all your money trying to find a cure. Those battling kidney and cardiovascular diseases are reported to spend between 70% and 95% of their non-food expenditure on healthcare alone. Older adults living with chronic conditions spend 5 times more on healthcare than their healthier counterparts. Despite the important strides made through the National Health Insurance Scheme, it remains inadequate in fully covering NCD-related services and medications. In 2018, around 48% of all NHIS claims were related to non-communicable diseases. Yet essential services remain outside the NHIS coverage, leaving families dangerously exposed to out-of-pocket payments. It is against this background that shortly after my election as President, I directed the Honorable Minister for Health to initiate the establishment of the Ghana Medical Trust Fund, a commitment captured faithfully in the 2024 People's Manifesto of the National Democratic Congress. Following extensive consultations with inputs from over 3,300 stakeholders, the National Task Force I formed, ably chaired by Reverend Emeritus Professor Seth Aite, submitted its final report on April 10th this year. I'm pleased to inform you that the accompanying draft bill, as the Minister said, is ready and will be presented to Parliament when it resumes at the end of next month. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're launching more than just an initiative. We're launching hope. Hope for thousands of Ghanaians living with chronic diseases. Hope for families battling the overwhelming costs of care. Hope for a future where the quality of life is not determined by one's ability to pay for essential treatment necessary. The Ghana Medical Trust Fund will support specialist-level treatment for a range of chronic diseases, including cancers, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, chronic kidney failure, stroke, and other complications. It will also progressively expand to cover convalescent care, palliative services, and home-based support. Support from the fund will be based on formal applications, carefully vetted, and will focus on costs not currently covered under the NHIS. The fund will operate as an independent statutory trust, governed by a board of trustees and supported by a dedicated administrative secretariat, third-party administrators, and patient navigators to ensure transparency, efficiency, and a patient-centered service ethic. Initial projections suggest the fund will require approximately 3 billion Ghana cedis annually over the first 3 years. And as was said, the main source of finance is going to come from the NHIL, the uncapped portion of the NHIL. It will also include direct budgetary support from government, voluntary contributions from corporate institutions and individuals, grants, donations, and will also be able to invest in order to raise income, investment income. Strategic procurement measures such as access pricing and framework contracting will ensure that essential medicines and diagnosis are acquired sustainably. And so I spoke to the minister and asked if we couldn't encourage our local pharmaceutical industries to increase the availability of generic drugs, which are much cheaper than the imported drugs. I know because I paid for my mother's diabetes drugs, and I know the difference between the imported drugs and the difference in cost. And so if we can encourage our pharmaceutical industry to produce generic versions of those drugs, it will bring the costs much lower. I wish to commend the exceptional leadership of the National Technical Task Force, chaired by Reverend Emeritus Prof. Seth Aite, and to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the professional associations, religious leaders, our development partners, and citizens who contributed their expertise and passion to bring this initiative to life. Your dedication has translated a manifesto promise into a tangible, life-changing reality. On that inspiring note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to officially declare, is there going to be a fanfare? Let me know. The last time when I was just declaring something launched, then I almost ran away from the stage. Okay, there's no fanfare. All right. On that inspiring note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to officially declare the Ghana Medical Trust Fund, into brackets Mahama Cares, duly launched. May God richly bless all of us, and may God continue to bless our homeland, Ghana. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Well, there's no papa. Please, you can take your seat. But we've got $1,000. We have 6 months' salary promised. Do we have any takers? Maybe. I think it's a good time to do a mini fundraiser. It's not part of the program, but with your permission, Your Excellency, do we have any takers, or you want to give in on the quiet? I'm looking at. I've seen Alaji Seido Agongo. Okay.
All right, so you just saw that the launch of the Ghana Medical Trust Fund, also christened Mahama Care. The president did that at the University of Ghana Medical School Center, I should say. And so, yes, it's officially launched, and then people are invited to also contribute their quota to that. Now, away from that and to more stories here on the bulletin, 3 suspected gold smugglers have been arrested by the Gold Board Security Task Force. The 3, Gutam Katria, 35, Miraj Savarich, 22, Manash Damani, 42, are Indian nationals who are in the business of trading gold in Kumasi and Accra for Unique MM, a company allegedly owned by one Musa Salifu. Now, the suspects were arrested at their private residence around Atinga Junction in Kumasi, which has been converted into a gold trading center. At a press conference in Accra, the Director of Investigations at National Security, Chief Superintendent Osman Al-Hassan, disclosed that amount...
Damani, 42 years. Yes. Then we have Guntam Katria, 35 years. And these are all Indian nationals, resident in Accra and Kumasi, respectively. Preliminary investigations revealed that Niraj Savaya, Manish Damani, Guntam Katria, who are, as I stated, are all Indians, are ordinary residents in Accra and Kumasi, and they are employees of Unique MM, a gold company with offices in Takwa, Kumasi, and Accra.
Now, former presidential staffer Charles Cromwell Nanabenyin Onuawanto Bissue has strongly denied allegations of corruption and abuse of office after the Office of the Special Prosecutor filed a writ seeking to initiate criminal proceedings against him and one Andy Thomas Owusu. The charges stem from the infamous Galamsey fraud expose released in 2019 by investigative journalist Anas Arimiyawa Anas and his tied-up IPI team. Now, the documentary, which sparked national debate over illegal mining and corruption, allegedly captured the 2 individuals engaging in acts deemed to be in breach of public trust. Now, in a press statement released on Tuesday, Charles Bissue categorically rejected the accusations, describing them as baseless and affirming his commitment to due process. He expressed his readiness to contest the charges in court and welcomed the decision by the OSP to finally proceed with the case after over 5 years of inaction. Mr. Bissue also called on the OSP to ensure full transparency by submitting to the court a complete, unedited and unaltered version of the video documentary at the center of the allegations. Touching on the political context, Mr. Bissue noted the significance of the case being prosecuted under a different administration from the one he served in, adding that it underscores the need for an impartial and credible judicial process. Now, he concluded with a call for public patience and respect for the rule of law, stressing his full cooperation with the courts and expressing confidence in a fair and conclusive adjudication of the matter. The OSP is yet to publicly respond to the statement or provide further details about the upcoming proceedings. While you're still watching news from here on GHOne television, we'll go for a quick break. When we return, we'll tell you more about what you are also saying on social media. The Foreign Affairs Minister, Kodjo, he launched the passport with the chips in them, but he had something to say about that, and that has generated a lot of conversation on social media. Nana Akyem is here to tell us exactly how you are responding to why you should not take your passports to and then anointing them with oil. Nana, what are people saying on social media?
Joshua, we've got quite a few interesting things, so let me zoom straight in. When we go to Facebook, Emmanuel says, you don't know what's going on. You want to limit God's power? They will anoint it so that they can pass through security without search. Eric says, mind you people, the chip doesn't go with oil. If oil touches it, you're finished. Don't come back and blame your enemies. Or we also have Kenneth, we will use handkerchief. Then we have Saeed, you will get passport but visa, dear, unless you drink the anointing oil. Brown Mike adds, then tell the embassies to give us our visas. Not until that, we will continue to pour. We will pour. The next comment, until America and Canada becomes visa-free, anointing oil all the way. When we move over to Instagram, Barack says, I'll buy cover for it, please, honorable, or perhaps I'll wrap it with nylon. We also have Ochri. I like how you're playing, but wait until you reach Kotaka and then can't scan your passports. If we add all the AC in the world for you, your body go hot. Just they play. We also have LeBron. They play. We will dip it inside the anointing oil. Then Jones says, we will not give Pastor the biodata page for the anointing, just the cover page. Then we have the Essex Braider. How are we supposed to pray for visas now? He's asking. When we move over to X, we have here, I have already poured some oil on my chip, embedded passport tool. You didn't tell me earlier. We also have, at least Akyem Mountains will know some level of peace. And our last comment here, you didn't say it quickly, I'm already coming from the mission house. Well, please don't get any oil onto the chip. However you want to anoint it, but please don't put oil on the chip. My name is Akyem. Joshua, back over to you.
If you had not added that, I would have been surprised. Akyem there, bringing us social media reactions to the Foreign Affairs Minister, giving us indication on what not to do with the chip-embedded passports. Let's do business now. Communications, digital technology and innovation, Samuel Nate George is advocating the creation of an independent financial control authority under the Bank of Ghana to bolster innovation in the fintech sector. His tour forms part of broader efforts to support local tech companies and position Ghana as a leader in digital innovation on the continent.
If you look at the Reset Agenda manifesto of President Mahama, we spoke about setting up an independent subsidiary of the Bank of Ghana that will regulate the fintech industry. Because when you look at the financial tech industry and even a number of the verticals, agri-tech, health tech, you realize that innovation is very fluid and you need a certain level of agility to be able to keep up with innovation. The Bank of Ghana is a fantastic institution, but it doesn't have the agility in its current shape and form to match and keep with innovation. And that's why you need this wholly owned subsidiary of the Bank of Ghana to deal with innovation, have the agility that it happens. And when you look at countries that are leading in innovation, like Morocco, like the United Kingdom, like the United Arab Emirates, they have sandboxes that are regulatory and innovative in character. And these sandboxes allow for agility. They allow for agility, and that's something that is not your typical central bank operation. And so, like, you have GIPS, which does real-time, same-day clearing as an independent subsidiary of the Bank of Ghana, but wholly owned by the Bank of Ghana. I believe that we need to have a financial control authority that allows for fintechs and other vertical technology companies to test their products in regulatory sandboxes.
Now, talking about the central bank, President John Dramani Mahama has appointed Matilda Santiesiedu as the second deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana. The appointment, made under Section 17 of the Bank of Ghana Act 2002, which is Act 612, underscores the government's commitment to bringing seasoned expertise to the nation's financial sector. This was contained in a statement signed by spokesperson to the President and Minister for Government Communications, Felix Kwakye-Ofosu. According to the statement, Mrs. Santiesiedu brings an impressive portfolio of qualifications and experience to her new role. She holds an MBA in marketing from Gimpa Business School and an MA in journalism from Cardiff University. Well, it's time to bring you the latest in the world of sports now. Now in sports, this afternoon, President of the Ghana Football Association, Keto Kraku, has stepped down from his role as President of the West Africa Football Union, WAFU Zone B. Now, the move comes after his recent election as the second Vice President of the Confederation of African Football, CAF. Now, citing the demands of his new position alongside his GFA duties, Kraku made the decision to ensure each role receives adequate attention. Now, during his tenure, WAFU Zone B saw significant advancements, including the relocation of its headquarters and enhanced cooperation among member nations. His leadership helped strengthen regional ties and laid a strong foundation for future growth. Now, former league phase foes renew hostilities in the Final Four as Arsenal and Paris Saint-Germain engage in a blockbuster battle in Tuesday's Champions League semi-final first leg at the Emirates, both dreaming of finally ending their excruciating wait for European stardom. Mikel Arteta's men outfought and outclassed Real Madrid in the quarterfinals to earn a two-leg tussle with the French champions, who ended Aston Villa's dreams of continental glory in the last 8.
Especially with the circumstances and how we have overcome a lot of issues and challenges, and the fact that the team is here as one of the 4 best teams in Europe. It tells about the mindset, the spirit, and how much we really want it. So, yeah, we are making history. It's a beautiful story right now, but we want much more. I told them, and I'm not exaggerating when I said, guys, bring your boots, bring your shorts, bring your t-shirts, and let's play every ball together. You know, you want to do something special, that place has to be something special, something that we haven't seen. And I really hope that everybody that comes tomorrow to the Emirates and everybody is watching and following us, it brings that energy with them. Especially because we have fortunately a lot of people that has worked at the club for many years, and they've never been in this position, you know, so that tells you how unique and beautiful it is. And yeah, it's the nicest competition for any European club. We never done it, so we need to earn the right to be in that final, and everything is going to start tomorrow.
Well, let's check out what's happening on the foreign front as well. Opening. Now elsewhere in Canada, Mark Carney and the Liberal Party have claimed a remarkable victory in the Canadian election, and it appears to have come with a big assistance from Donald Trump. Now, the U.S. President's constant badgering of America's northern neighbor and taunts about making it the 51st U.S. state since his return to office in January coincided with a dramatic reversal in fortune for the center-left party. Carney has been almost singularly focused on his new neighbor, and this was reflected in his victory speech.
As I've been warning for months, America wants our land, our resources, our water, our country. Never. But these are not idle threats. President Trump is trying to break us